The invisible ceiling. Why Black women are still the most undersupported group in American workplaces. Good morning, everyone. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Victoria Owens Burks, a fearless revolutionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand workplace equity for Black women. Victoria isn't just a researcher or advocate, she's a force of nature who has dedicated her life to dismantling systems of oppression with unflinching courage and brilliant precision. Her groundbreaking research has illuminated the persistent barriers that remain even in 2025, challenging us all to move beyond performative allyship to meaningful action. Today, I want to share the profound insights from our conversation. Insights that may shatter what many of us believe about progress in American workplaces. We like to think we've come so far in creating equitable workplaces. We celebrate diversity initiatives, point to representation improvements, and congratulate ourselves on progress. But what if I told you that despite all this apparent advancement, Black women remain the most undersupported group in American workplaces, even now in 2025? This isn't just my opinion. This isn't just Victoria's research. This is what the data tells us. This is what Black women are experiencing every single day. Let that sink in for a moment. The most educated demographic group in America, Black women, continues to face the steepest climb with the least support. And this reality fundamentally challenges the narrative that diversity initiatives alone are enough to create equity. During my conversation with Victoria, she shared something that stopped me in my tracks. According to the latest McKinsey and Company and Leanin.org report, only 1 in 4 Black women report having someone in leadership who actively advocates for them. Just 1 in 4. This despite years of public commitments to diversity and inclusion. Think about what this means. In a room of 4 talented, qualified Black women professionals, only one has someone with power actively supporting her advancement. The other 3, they're navigating complex workplace dynamics without the benefit of senior sponsorship, a critical factor we know determines career advancement. This isn't just disappointing, it's devastating. Because here's what we know about career advancement: it's rarely about merit alone, it's about who speaks your name in rooms you're not in, it's about who recommends you for opportunities, it's about who advocates for your promotion when decisions are being made. And Black women are systematically excluded from these critical relationships. Victoria shared 3 key insights from her research that I believe everyone in this room needs to understand. First, true support and sponsorship are still missing for Black women in the workplace. Despite public commitments to DEI, Black women are rarely given access to influential mentors or advocates, which significantly limits their advancement opportunities. The 2025 Women in the Workplace report reveals that Black women continue to struggle for advancement in corporate America. They are the least likely to have senior sponsors, are often mistaken for junior colleagues regardless of their position, and face constant microaggressions that undermine their authority and expertise. What's particularly telling is that companies that implemented formal sponsorship programs saw increased retention and promotion rates for Black women. This proves that the problem isn't a lack of qualified candidates, it's a lack of intentional support systems. Despite years of DEI initiatives, Black women's daily workplace experiences remain largely unchanged, with many still feeling invisible and unsupported. Second, the wage gap for Black women is staggering and persistent. In places like New York, Black women earn just 66 cents for every dollar a white, non Hispanic man makes. 66 cents. This results in over $1 million in lost wages across a 40-year career, even at the highest education levels. Let me put this in perspective. The annual observance of Black Women's Equal Pay Day in New York State revealed that Black women earn only 66 cents for every dollar earned by white, non Hispanic men. The wage gap remains despite advances in education and experience, with Black women needing to work until age 81 to match a white man's lifetime earnings by age 60. Let that sink in. Age 81 versus age 60. These aren't just numbers. These are mothers trying to feed their children. These are women trying to save for retirement. These are professionals trying to build wealth and security for their families. And they're doing it with one hand tied behind their back. Third, recent rollbacks of DEI initiatives have had a devastating impact on Black women's employment and economic security. Policy reversals and mass layoffs in 2025 have disproportionately harmed Black women, especially those in federal and public sector roles, threatening decades of progress and widening the racial wealth gap. Victoria documented the impact of executive orders dismantling DEI programs on Black women in the public sector. Over 69,000 federal jobs were cut, many held by Black women, resulting in a sharp rise in unemployment for this group. This is particularly heartbreaking because Black women have long sought stability in federal employment, where DEI policies previously offered some protection against discrimination. While advocacy groups and some state governments have responded by reinforcing local DEI initiatives and providing targeted support for displaced workers, the overall effect was a significant setback in economic security and career progression for Black women. The case underscores the fragility of progress and the need for sustained, enforceable commitments to workplace equity. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but what about all the progress we've made? What about all the diversity initiatives? What about all the Black women I see in leadership positions? And yes, there has been some progress. But Victoria's research shows that this progress is both fragile and insufficient. The truth is, we've confused visibility with equity. We've mistaken representation for support. We've substituted symbolism for substance. And in doing so, we've failed to address the fundamental barriers that continue to hold Black women back. This matters for all of us, not just Black women, because when we allow talent to be systematically undervalued and underutilized, we all lose. Companies lose innovation, teams lose perspective, society loses potential, and most importantly, real human beings lose opportunities they've earned and deserve. So, what do we do with this information? How do we move from awareness to action? Victoria's research points to several critical interventions. First, we need to recognize that mentorship is not the same as sponsorship. Mentors advise, sponsors advocate. Black women don't just need advice, they need advocates with power who will speak their names in rooms where decisions are made. Second, we need to acknowledge that the wage gap for Black women isn't just about individual negotiation skills, it's about systemic undervaluation. Companies need to conduct regular pay equity audits and make adjustments when disparities are found. Third, we need to understand that DEI initiatives aren't charity or special treatment. They're necessary corrections to long standing systemic barriers. And when these initiatives are rolled back, real people suffer real consequences. But perhaps most importantly, we need to shift from performative allyship to meaningful action. It's not enough to post a black square on social media or issue a statement about valuing diversity. Real allyship means using your privilege and position to create tangible opportunities for Black women. As Victoria so powerfully stated during our interview, the measure of our commitment to equity isn't what we say, it's what we do when no one is watching and when there's nothing to gain. For Black women listening today, I want to acknowledge that this information might feel overwhelming or discouraging. You already know these realities because you live them every day. But I hope Victoria's research also validates your experiences and reminds you that the barriers you face aren't because of any deficiency on your part. They're systemic issues that require systemic solutions. And for everyone else, I hope this information challenges you to move beyond comfortable assumptions about progress and pushes you toward meaningful action. Because here's the truth, we can't claim to value diversity while continuing to undersupport Black women. We can't claim to believe in meritocracy while maintaining systems that systematically disadvantage certain groups. And we can't claim to be allies while remaining passive in the face of these disparities. I want to end with a challenge that goes beyond this room, beyond this moment. The data is clear. The stories are compelling. The injustice is undeniable. But what happens next depends on each of us. Will you be the sponsor who advocates for a Black woman when she's not in the room? Will you be the leader who examines pay disparities and takes concrete action to address them? Will you be the colleague who speaks up when microaggressions occur? Will you be the citizen who demands policy changes that protect rather than harm Black women's economic security? The future we create will be determined not by our intentions, but by our actions, not by our words, but by our deeds, not by what we say we believe, but by what we actually do. I challenge you today to identify one specific, tangible action you will take in the next week to support Black women in your workplace. One conversation you will have, one policy you will examine, one opportunity you will create, because the invisible ceiling that holds Black women back isn't made of glass that can be seen through. It's made of systems and biases and inaction. And dismantling it requires all of us, especially those with power and privilege, to see it, name it, and actively work to tear it down. The time for awareness is over. The time for action is now. The future of our workplaces, our economy, and our society depends on it. Thank you.